All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Coyote Radio Show and Podcast. We got a great guest today. Lance Rogers is with us. You just heard a brand new song from him, High and Dry. Great tune. I love what he's doing. He's got a lot of new music in the works. In fact, he's got another song coming out next week on May 5th, I believe. But follow him on social media, get all those updates. We're going to talk about his music, some festivals, some touring, a little bit about the Kentucky music scene, his life growing up around music. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about. I do want to say thanks to everyone that's been liking, sharing, supporting the podcast. We are growing. Check out the brand new website, Coyote Radio Show and Podcast.com. I got merch on there. I got t-shirts, posters. I'm even selling coyote hides and coyote skulls, whatever to represent the coyote. So yeah, check that out. Coyote Radio Show and Podcast.com. I think that covers everything. Let's go talk to Lance and see what he's got to say. All right. Welcome back to the Coyote Radio Show and Podcast. Big guest today. Lance Rogers is with us. Thanks for being on, man.
I appreciate you having me on. It was real nice chatting with you at Laurel Cove last year. I was hoping this would happen.
Yeah, that was Laurel Cove. That was a great time. Yeah, that was. I'm going this year. I don't know about you.
I'm gonna try to make it.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. So I've been following your music ever since, and I like what you're doing. And then you got some new stuff that's popping up now, and even another single you said on May 5th here, getting ready to release too.
That May 5th one is it's on a Friday, next Friday, and it was kind of a whim last night. I was looking at some of the momentum building from High and Dry that's out right now. That's the song I released maybe a month ago, and I was like, I just got to put something else out, and I've got about 4 or 5 songs ready to go from the studio, and so it's probably not advised just to on a whim like put some music out. But I was kind of feeling it last night, and I just went ahead and uploaded it. But it'll be ready to go like next Friday.
That's great. Hey, you just kind of carve your own path, I guess.
That's right, man. There's no official rules. We got some influence. Think they know it all, but that's what we're all trying to figure out. What works for one person doesn't work for another. And I think too, like the way that I jumped into music, just kind of putting things out on social media, and then all of a sudden dropping my debut album. Looking back on it, it probably would have been better if I would have released one song at a time and kind of got the feel for what people wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Although, in the same regard, I'm glad that it does capture, that debut album does capture how I was writing and my style at the time, and just kind of trying to switch things up a little bit more up tempo songs that I'm putting out. Although this next one that I'm getting ready to drop is called Change. It's kind of a mellow song. It's just me and a guitar. It's produced by my friend here in town that he did like 5 or 6 song like EP for me, and I'm just going to release one song at a time, but just stripped down. My other songs, High and Dry and The Place for Us that I just released, they're recorded with Dwayne Lundy up in Lexington, fully produced, with the whole 9 yards, and so just trying to give a little bit different sound, something different.
Yeah, this recent stuff that we just mentioned, they sound great. I mean, they're radio quality ready.
I appreciate it, man.
They did a good job helping, mixing all that, and
Dwayne's one of the best, man. He's produced for a lot of bigger names and a lot of up and comers. He's got Tom Nato in the house with him. He is a man of many talents. He can play just about anything, and so he's like, anytime you hear pedal steel on my songs that he does, like it's Tom. He's on tour with John R. Miller right now. He'll be at Laurel Cove, and just it's very high quality production when you work with Dwayne Lundy. Dwayne King, he's the one that does my stripped down stuff recently. He's on the road with Exile, the band Exile. He does all their sound, and um, he also does sound at Bluegrass Barrel House across town, which I'm there every Wednesday hosting a show called the BBH Spotlight. So I got to know Dwayne over the years, and just a great guy, great family.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're definitely working with the right people, it sounds like. And you're making some big connections. I- we're already kind of going down the rabbit hole. Let's back up a little bit, and if you could, Lance, just kind of tell me exactly where you're from and how you got into music and what you were listening to, that sort of thing.
I mean, going all the way back. I mean, my parents were always like into music. My dad had a pretty good record collection. Mom would like sing country music around the house to the point where it drove me crazy. And even in like elementary school, I was, my music teacher had a big influence on me. Just I remember those early moments where she would pass out different instruments for people to play and try to get everybody coordinated as a big band as a class. And I just really enjoyed that. And up through high school, I took a guitar class in school, which I had to bring my old guitar to school every day. And I learned how to read music there, but I don't read it anymore. But I basically in that class, I did just enough to get good grades, and that was about it. I tried to write a song in high school about this girl that this long distance relationship I had, and it didn't work out. So I tried to write a song, and it didn't. I never finished it. And then, years later, I picked the guitar back up and learned how to play and put music to it. Singing and playing guitar was kind of tricky at first, but played a lot of cover songs. The guys that influenced me, the different bands that influenced me through the years. I mean, my parents listened to a lot of old classic country, and my dad was into like Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson, things like people like that. Um, the Beatles. I remember listening to the Beatles a lot when I was a kid. Uh, just like Joe Cocker, guys like that. And then in high school, I was into the grunge music, Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots,
Yeah.
just like Pearl Jam, big fan of Pearl Jam. And then, going all the way through, like there was a moment where I went on this fishing trip with a buddy of mine, and he said, "Man, you ever hear Robert Earl Keen?" And I said, "No." And he played that live at the Ryman album. And
Yeah.
for the first time, I was like, "Man, this is how music should sound." Like I'd never heard him before. And up to that point, I'd been listening to the radio and just like whatever I could, little CDs that I had and stuff like that. But the way that he put a song together, it made me curious. So I listened to it nonstop. I had a Pandora channel back then that it was Robert Earl Keen, and then they would cycle in different kind of music that was similar. So that's where first time I heard Turnpike. First time I heard Chris Knight and Jason Isbell. Around the same time, I discovered Tyler Childers and Arlo McKinley. And that's just how it really changed the way that I listen to music, and how how they would put a common thing in life that we all go through in a different way that I'd heard previously. Like what you hear on the radio is basically just to try to get you to drink beer,
Right.
and
Right.
or whatever, or buy whatever product. This was music about real life, and I related to that big time.
Yeah. That me too. That's how I was same boat as you really. I was listening to all that heavy stuff too, or even heavier. I mean, I was straight like getting into death metal there for a while. um, anything, the young guy to rebel and go wild at the show, but discovering bluegrass and country rooted stuff and Americana and all that is like the grown up version of that stuff versus all the radio noise of, like you said, it could whatever the advertising they're trying to do. Uh, this is like grown up music now. What we're listening to.
Yeah, And it's nice to see that it's taking off the way that it is, and how it used to be very isolated. You could find whatever music you wanted to hear, whether it was, bluegrass or red dirt, and then some of these kind of crossover genres that are being created, and they, kind of lump it into Americana. But I don't know, a good song is a good song, and it's a shame that they don't play more on the radio. But also, it makes it that much more special, in my opinion. And whenever you have something goes mainstream, you kind of worry about whether it's going to keep all those sharp edges. And for right now, like in the scene that we're in, um, we have so many people creating great music that we don't have to worry about that right now. But we're kind of creating our own universe of music, and it's pretty amazing to see how, we've always had music here in Kentucky. We've always had great music, and for finally people to start recognizing that from all over the world, and it's exposing even younger and younger people to like bluegrass music, for instance. Um, and then we have a lot of singer-songwriters writing about the rawness of life, um, and now, yes, Nashville is kind of changing the way that they perceive us and the entire region, and how it's kind of changing their plans and their course too. It's pretty cool to see that happening.
Yeah. You can definitely tell too, like for the average person that just, listens to radio and doesn't really follow music like say me or you, if you just look at the festival lineups and you can see who's playing what slots, it's so much more integrated. Even the stuff that has like the poppiest guy on the radio, whoever it may be, is mixed in with some Americana guys that are
Yeah,
up and coming or just as big that are headlining side by side somebody like uh I don't know, Blake Shelton, for instance, or somebody like that.
yeah,
Um, so it's definitely, like you said, worked its way into Nashville, and things are kind of turning a little bit. So I think it's great because we needed that.
yeah. It helps with, it builds an excitement, um, for artists too. Like just the fact that you can be in your living room one day, with a phone and recording some music and put it on social media and put some music out on Spotify. And a year from now, you could be, playing the biggest stage in the country. Like I see what's happening with like my buddy Nolan Taylor, man, like with that song 68. We've heard him sing that 100 times, but, and now everybody and their brother is sharing it,
Yeah.
and it's on in a trajectory it's pretty impressive to see and amazing to see it happen. But that's the kind of atmosphere that's being created right now. It can be discouraging sometimes when you put your music out and you put your heart and your soul into it, and nothing seems to be happening. But the key is not giving up and keeping your vision strong. It can be trying because there's a lot of sacrifices along the way, but like Nolan's one of those guys that he gives me incentive to be like, man, there's the right formula is out there. You just got to keep going and keep your mind strong.
Yep. Yeah, that exposure. It's to get in that next bracket of exposure. Because like Spotify and YouTube and all this stuff, like you said, social media, it's great, but it is over flooded. Like there's so much of it. So it's still difficult to be seen, even though we have all these avenues. So
Yeah,
you need something to go kind of like similar viral to help, you know, project that. But yeah, like you said, the formula's there. Like I think your content's there. I think you do a good job. Sounds good. The writing's good. Uh, yeah, it's just the next step, just working your way in and letting everyone see it. Once they see it or hear it, they're going to be locked in. Just takes that one magic thing to go to the next level, and you just never know
yeah.
when it's going to come.
It can be one song, the right person relates to, or they can see some marketability behind it or something like that. But ultimately, man, like you write real stuff that, um, that people can relate to, and whether it has a nice melody or not. I mean, if it strikes them and they share it, um, you can bet that 100,000 other people will do the same thing. And that's why it's another important thing. I tell a lot of my buddies, man, like they just stick around this area and just play their music here. I'm like, you need to get out and you need to travel and you need to get these songs out to more and more people. That's the way that it's going to work. And so I've been hitting the road hard, especially this year. Last year I was traveling a lot. I'm trying to make some connections in Europe so that I can go out there next year. And I think that's going to be possible in England. So working that out, I don't have management. I don't have anything other than just like my own determination at this point. But
Yeah.
Help with social media, making the right contacts and people that get what you're doing. They've already got places to play out there, places to stay, and a network. And so it just, putting yourself out there and not, turning down the right things and accepting the right things too, like along the way. There are really no rules. The main rule is just, make good content and treat people right. Those are the main rules. And usually everything will work out, but hell, it's hard work, man. It's a lot of work. It's nonstop too.
Yeah. So so we got this new batch of music coming out. Do we have a release date? Do we know how many songs are going on like a whole EP, or what's the whole project look like?
I've got 3 projects going on right now. I've got one with Fat Cave Studios, Sam Rogers, and I've recorded 2 songs with him. One is Green Empire, which I cannot. It's not mastered yet, but it's pretty damn close. I got that one and another one called Breathe for 2. That's going to be part of an EP that he produces for me. I've got the EP already done with Dwayne King. That's that stripped down EP, and I'm releasing those songs one at a time. And then I'm working on another full album, my second album, full album with Dwayne Lundy. I'm working on some dates with him. And then I've got one song that Dan Mykoff is producing for me right now, Lost You. So I'm working with 4 different producers right now. And hopefully they don't get upset at that, but that's just the way I want to do it right now. And I think there's good variety, and hearing how different people produce things. And I just kind of want to put enough things out there, enough lines in the water to see where the biting is going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'm sure there's a
I'm
bunch
excited.
to learn that way too.
Yeah, there's really no rhyme or reason to why I'm doing it, other than there's so many great people to work with around here, and I think it's good to have just different options.
Right. Yeah, I don't remember who I was talking to. Maybe it was Nolan or somebody. I think Kentucky alone is putting out some of the best music right now. Yeah, even historically, like Kentucky has some of the best music that's ever been made, and it's still like continuing to this day. There's been a lot of good music.
There has been, man, and um, I was born here. My parents are from Ohio. They moved to Texas. My brother was born down there, and then they moved from Texas to Kentucky. And then mom got pregnant and had me here. And on her side of the family, they're all from Kentucky, like Eastern Kentucky. So and there are a lot of musicians in that part of the family. So there is something about Eastern Kentucky that like it kind of, you kind of grow up in the music. My mom was not a musician, but she sang all the time. Like she had it in her blood. Both my great uncles, they went out and did great things musically. Had a great aunt that was in a band back in the 30s and 40s, and so kind of a natural progression. But yeah, there's something special about this region, man. Like you said, man, there's always been great music coming out of this area. I just think it's a way of life. It's just a result of hardworking people, people with a great attitude, and have they don't put up with shit. You know what I mean? Like they expect you to treat them right, and they're going to treat you right too. But that's the mentality that has grown here. Usually when outsiders come in, there's a little bit of hesitancy at first until they get to know you, and then they know whether you're a good person or a bad person. And so I see that kind of thing happening in the music scene too. There's, when somebody new pops up, even if they're from around here, it takes them a while to get some traction.
Yeah.
So, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of normal. But I did feel like that for a little bit when I first started. I won I got runner up in a singer-songwriter competition. And this was when I first started writing music. And it kind of gave me an incentive to keep going. And part of the prize was that I won was a paid gig at the Steam Engine. And that's when I got to open for Arlo McKinley. So that was very early on. So I kind of got in this situation where people were like, who the heck's this guy? And how did he get this gig open up for Arlo McKinley? And I just knew that I had a tiger by the tail, and I was like, I ain't gonna let go of this thing. And so I just kept going, and didn't care what people thought. I was really coming to life. And I realized that this is something that I want to do. This is like something that I'm good at, and something that it's like an awakening or a calling. And I was going through a lot of other transitions in my life around the same time. My marriage was breaking up. I was leaving a religion that I was raised in that was a very high control religion. And so I was just like, what the hell do I have to lose, man? I'm just going to go for it. And things are working out. Things aren't always easy. And you look at my social media, I try to make everything look good, but we know how that works.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not the truth. Social media is not the truth.
No.
But hell, I mean, we're all trying to make people hear our music and trying to make this a way of life. And I'm just another person out here doing it.
Nice. So all these projects, do we have like deadline dates on when they're getting? You said some of them are one by one on some of the tracks, but like,
yeah.
Say your studio full record. When do we have a release date on that?
Well, with that studio record, I'm going to shoot for probably like early next year, because that's going to give me plenty of time to get this other stuff out. And I really don't want to rush through it. I want to make sure that it's exactly the way I want it. And also, I'm probably going to do a Kickstarter campaign. I've had a few people offer to pay for it, and I just don't feel right about that. I'd rather just start the Kickstarter, give people some incentive, kind of like I did before. And if they want to chip in the bulk of it, that's fine. But it kind of blows my mind how many people definitely want to help on the next album. And I've been trying to find some management to kind of help me work through all this, because I'm making decisions. I'm like covered up with my regular work. I do heating and air refrigeration. I have my own business, but it's just me. So I'm just trying to keep that up. And then I'm trying to promote my shows. I'm trying to book shows. I'm trying to do, I've got 6 festivals I'm doing this year. And so there's going to be a point where I'm not going to be able to handle it.
And it already sounds like a lot.
It's a lot, man. I've been able to do it so far, but my goal for next year is to have some sort of team built that can help me to manage all that. And hopefully this music will take off, and some of these projects will make it all make sense to people that didn't think it was going to make sense.
Right. Yeah. I could see it definitely working out. What festivals are you doing? Or has that been released yet?
I've got my first one that I'm doing is Power and Sound Music Revival. It's out in North Carolina. That's May 19th, and then got one out in Benton, Kentucky. It's like let's see what day is it. It's called Kentucky's Own Music Festival. I think Laidback Country Pickers are headlining that one. And then I've got Cannon Fire Festival out in Maryland, and Buffalo Days. Buffalo Days is my biggest show I've ever done so far. It's going to be, I'm actually the headlining band for that one. So that's going to be pretty wild. I played Troublesome Fest there last year, and the city of Grand Lake. I was talking with them. They did a little interview with me, and they reached out. And they're like, "Hey, we want you to be the headline of our festival we're having." So I'm doing that one, and then Bourbon Jam Festival. That's in Richmond, Kentucky, on August 26th. Is that all of them? I think that's all of them. But yeah, on that Buffalo Day show out in Colorado, that I'm taking Don Rogers with me, Jamie Gaddis, and Christopher Bentley, and hopefully I'm trying to see if I can get my pedal steel guy to come out with me too. But
Yeah,
that's gonna be a fun one. Probably gonna drive out there.
might as well make a trip out, sightsee. line up some gigs along the way or something.
Yeah, there's a couple other ones, a couple gigs that I'm probably gonna do while I'm out there. But I think having my own vehicle out there would help.
Oh
instead
yeah,
of just relying on other people to drive us around.
definitely. That makes it a lot easier when you have your own wheels. So,
Yeah.
Changes will be the next one, right? That's coming out May 5th, next Friday.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said that one's more. It's not as upbeat. It's what else can you throw in there that give us a little insight? It's
Well, change is like, it's the song that I was, I told you how my marriage broke up. I still struggle with that. There's some, good days and bad days with that whole thing. But I was having a bad day, and I was driving home one night on the interstate, and just like started thinking about the whole thing, and I just started writing. I get my phone out and I'll talk to text, and or type some things in there sometimes. But I got home and I was like, I've got to finish this song. And the song doesn't have a chorus. It's just a I guess a ballad. Is it kind of a ballad? I don't know. You just have to hear. But it's kind of it's kind of raw. I mean, it's like one of these things that a lot of people can relate to, just because it's a breakup, and it wasn't a bad breakup. It was just like, I was trying to change you, and you were trying to change me. And
right.
in a situation where especially in a marriage or a long time partnership of some sort, like, you get to a point where it's like, it's okay to go your separate ways. And that's kind of what the song talks about.
Okay. So that one's definitely a little different than High and Dry.
Well, if you notice, like, a bunch of my songs are about somebody leaving, like Pretty Gone. Pretty
I was
Gone.
like, most of the industry is probably 90% of someone
Yeah.
leaving or drinking.
And, Pretty Gone's about the guy that he drinks too much and he loses his girl. And then High and Dry is about a guy pursuing his dreams and loses his girl. And first chorus verse is about a guy that plays music too much and he loses his girl. Like, it's a thing, I guess.
Oh yeah.
But you know what's it's fuel for sad songs too.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know what it is. Like, my wife doesn't get it. She's like, "Why do you like all the sad stuff all the time, or the depressing stuff?" I'm like, "Because it's human. Like, everyone's going through this shit all the time. Like, we can relate to some of this here."
you know
But
what? You know what dawned on me the other day, when notice, like, a lot of sad country songs have pedal steel in it. A lot of up tempo ones do too, but the pedal steel, just like, it just pulls those tears out sometimes when you hear it. Those old
yeah,
George Jones songs and stuff. And I think I have a theory about that. I think the pedal steel is is the crying.
Yeah,
I think it's
it's
closely
weeping.
related to tears, and like when a woman's crying, like really crying, and you hear those high pitched sounds while she's crying, it's like it just tears you up. It's kind of like that pedal steel, and
Yeah,
so but and the good thing about a sad song is it helps us to realize we all go through hard times. We all go through, like, I don't care who you think, especially on social media. I don't care who you think has a great life, who you think has a great marriage or a great relationship. Everybody is struggling. Everybody has things they have to deal with, and um, objections, and um, challenges, and and then things that hit you out of the blue that you weren't expecting. Kind of those sad songs remind us that we're all in this together. We're all kind of like, we're all just trying to figure this out. We're on this big rock out in the universe,
yeah,
floating around. It's, you have good days and bad days.
yeah. It's therapy. It is straight up is music therapy sometimes,
It is.
which
It
is
is for
great.
me too. Like, it's once I have something on paper, it's like, oh, there it is. It's not in here anymore. It's on paper, or it's in a song, and it is therapy. And I guess that's kind of how I started with it. It just felt good to do it.
Yeah, that's great, man. Well, I like I said before, thank you for being on and sharing all that with me. I'm pumped to see you grow. I think good things are gonna happen. I've been getting kind of picky on who to let on the show because I get so many people ask now, and so at this point, if I ask someone or I really believe in them, because like I said, the email I can't even go through all the emails. It's too much.
Well,
And
Justin,
this is a small podcast. I can only imagine what it could turn into, but we'll see.
I think you're growing too, man, and just keep it up, because you do help us out a lot. And while you're building yours up, you're building us, and we hopefully can give that back to you someday too. And it's a big, this community that's being built right now with the podcasters, and people with venue owners and bar owners, and artists. We all kind of help each other out, especially ones you believe in. And it's not just you try to cherry pick people that can get your numbers built up. It's like, my numbers aren't that big right now, but for you to say that, it means a lot to me, and it really, it adds fuel to the fire. And so, thank you so much, man, for having me on.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, I'll see you at Laurel Cove.
Yeah, I hope I can make it, man. I'm not on the lineup, but I hope to make it. It's gonna be a great time.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, is there anything else you want to throw in here before we sign off? You got a website or where should people find you the most on social
I do.
media wise?
It's kind of rudimentary at this point, but I'm working on it. I want to get some merch put out there so people can buy online. But it's lancerogersmusic.com. And then people can find me on Facebook, Lance Rogers, and then Instagram. I think I switched it to Lance Rogers Music. But yeah, look me up on Spotify and all that. If you hear me on Spotify, like, press that follow button, because it really does help push it out a little bit more. So,
Yeah.
but thank you so much, man. And anything I can do to help you too, let me know.
All right, brother. We'll see you later.
All right, see you.